The Judge is coming up next, but we're just hearing the Verizon phone network is down on the East Coast. We can't get a video call, therefore, but we have got a phone line to the Judge. Here comes the Judge, Andrew Napolitano, who joins me now. Judge, Your Honour, Your Excellency, albeit only by telephone, welcome back to the mother of all talk shows. Have I got some questions for you?
I am ready for you, the Right Honorable George Galloway, and my apologies that American digital systems are so deficient that we can't see each other.
Well, I hope we see each other soon, and I believe that we will. But let's talk, at least, Judge. I want to start with the point I just finished with. We now have a situation where the American president, I don't say the government, but the president has a private army, rather like Hitler had the brown shirts in the 1930s before the war, that seems to be able and willing to roam the countryside, beating, bludgeoning, and even murdering American citizens. How did it get to this?
I wish I knew how it got to this. It was Donald Trump's demonization of immigrants and persuading MAGA and his other supporters that they are beneath humanity and unworthy of the protections of the Constitution. And that has enabled him to amass a police force of masked thugs who have no identification on them whatsoever, of about 250,000 of them, and they roam the cities ostensibly looking for those who are here illegally. They arrest without arrest warrant. They incarcerate and deport without hearing. When these poor people are able to get their cases before judges, the administration has always lost. But this keeps going on and on. The case in Minneapolis is horrific. The woman was shot in the head because the cop was too lazy to get out of the way of the car. In America, if you get stopped for jaywalking or for murder, the policeman has to give you his name and badge number. These ICE people don't have to give you anything. There's a clip this morning that I got from our mutual friend, Gerald Salenti, of a woman who made a wrong turn. She went down a wrong street in Minneapolis. 5 of these thugs descended on her. She said, "Look, I have a doctor's appointment." They said, "No, you don't." They ordered her out of the car. She refused. She turned the car around. They jumped on the car. They forced the door open. They pulled her out. She was restrained by the seatbelt. They cut the seatbelt off of her. They threw her to the ground and handcuffed her, and then they discovered she was disabled. Now, I don't know how this ends, but she was incarcerated. She's an American citizen. But this is the type of thing that's happening, and your point is well taken. The President of the United States has no sympathy for demonstrators in the United States or in Tehran. His only sympathy lies with Benjamin Netanyahu, and if he believes that it's in the interest of Netanyahu and the Trump's Zionist donors, he'll do what he has to attack Iran. I don't think Iran will take it lying down, and this time when Netanyahu cries uncle, I don't think the Iranians will stop pounding him.
We'll turn in a minute, Your Honour, to the international situation, but staying with the local for the moment. Trump appears, I think I was the first to describe him as Caligula, and the more things happen, the more like Caligula he appears to me. He seems to be on a lawless curve, which must, if there is any law left in the United States, bring him up short. I mean, I gave the ICE example. Let me give the Epstein example. He has been ordered by those lawfully in a position to order him to publish the Epstein files. He's actually making war around the world to avoid publishing the Epstein files. But there must come a point in which checks and balances kick in, mustn't there?
Well, theoretically, yes, but the American Constitution, George, works formally, but it doesn't work functionally. He has intimidated the Republican-controlled Congress, and they are terrified of him. Look, he signed into law the legislation that orders him to release the Epstein files. He assigned it to the Department of Justice. They released about 125,000 pages. It was nonsense. About a third of it was redacted. The statute that he signed into law, which passed the United States Congress almost unanimously, of the 535 members of Congress, only one voted against it. The statute says if you're going to redact anything, you have to put in the margin what it is you redacted. So we redacted the name of a 13-year-old girl who was raped by Jeffrey Epstein, and they don't reveal the girl's name. They put nothing in these margins. Then, after these documents came out, the Justice Department said, we found another 5 million pages of documents that we didn't know existed. We can't get these documents reviewed in time. The statute required that they be released by December 19th. It's now January 14th, so it's nearly a month late. No word on the status of the 5 million, quote, newly discovered, closed quote, documents. He's obviously fighting these wars. He's going to attack Iran. He attacked Venezuela to get, as you say, the public's attention off of these things. It's a horrible, horrible state of affairs that we're living through in the United States. I've never seen anything like this in my life. This is worse than the Vietnam War era when I was a teenager.
Well, it is, Judge. You and me both. We are really in completely uncharted waters with this second Trump presidency. And it's not over yet, not by a long chalk. But the Epstein affair isn't going away amongst the public, is it? If you were to design the archetypal MAGA base figure, it would have been that firefighter in the Ford motor plant who shouted at Trump today and got the middle finger and F you, F off from the President of the United States on camera in return. The public have not forgotten, have they?
No, the public have not forgotten. And that archetype MAGA supporter, this particular firefighter, I'm sure is a former Trump supporter, was the heart and soul of the movement that resulted in the Epstein legislation being passed. So he is severely damaging his own base at a time when he can least afford it, because it's going to result in the Democrats controlling Congress. Now, they're not any better than the Republicans, except in this respect, they're not afraid of him. They won't kowtow to him. They won't bend over and let him do whatever the hell he wants, whether it's consistent with the Constitution, which he says he doesn't have to follow, whether it's consistent with international law, for which he says he has no use, whether it's consistent with treaties, which he says he doesn't need to follow, or not. So we're in a dangerous situation here, and this man is making things worse. He has demeaned the presidency worse than Bill Clinton did having sex in the Oval Office.
Indeed so. Now, staying in New York, the world's most famous political prisoner isn't far from your bailiwick right now. What could you tell us about the conditions he's being held, and what exactly do they have in mind for a trial of the president of a country who was illegally kidnapped by your government? How can you put him on trial, and what kind of trial is it likely to be?
Well, if it is a trial, it'll be a jury trial. The judge is an Orthodox Jew, aged 92. Supposedly, this judge was chosen by random. Now, he is still an active duty, full-time judge notwithstanding his advanced years. The conditions in which the President Maduro and his wife are being held separate from each other, of course, are simply horrific. This is the same jail in which Jeffrey Epstein breathed his last. He didn't kill himself, but he was murdered there. This is the same place where Ghislaine Maxwell was held. It's a horrific facility. It's not a long-term facility. They hold people there from the time who don't get bail from the time of their arrest until the time of the trial. Interestingly enough, this judge, on his own, raised the issue of bail, and the prosecutor's ears were singed. They couldn't imagine him granting bail. The president sent an armada to arrest, but of course the judge does have the authority to do that. If there is a trial, it will be a jury trial before 12 or 16, there are four alternates, New York citizens. The charges against him are absurd, and some of them are simply not crimes. For example, possessing a machine gun in Caracas that is unlawful to possess in the United States. Now, the federal courts do not have jurisdiction over behavior in Caracas, so that charge goes out. One of the other charges is dispatching cocaine from Caracas to Paris. That also had nothing to do with the United States, so that charge will be out. The other two charges are conspiracy to distribute cocaine, but they don't have the cocaine that he allegedly conspired to distribute. When the president of Honduras was convicted of distributing cocaine, they brought a truckload of cocaine into the courtroom and persuaded the jury this was the cocaine that this guy caused to be delivered. We stopped it. In Maduro's case, the cocaine does not exist. The sole witness against him is a former general in the Venezuelan military intelligence who is already incarcerated in the United States for drug trials and who is negotiating for a lesser sentence in return for telling lies against President Maduro. So the government has a very weak case. The indictment looks like it was written by a law student. It was very, very rushed. It's very sloppy, and as I said, it has things in there that couldn't possibly be criminal.
Finally, turning to the international situation, Your Honor, and you and I are going to, I think, be talking about this intensively in a few weeks' time.
Yes.
And we'll share that with the audience as much as we can. The international situation is little short of catastrophic, isn't it? The threat to invade Denmark, because Greenland is a part of legally at least, the sovereign territory of Denmark, the bombing without authorization of Africa, of Nigeria, of Somalia, the assault on Venezuela, and the ongoing aggression against Gaza, appointing such luminaries as Keir Starmer as a governor of Gaza. You couldn't make this up, Judge. No. And the imminent, it would appear, war against Iran. It's war throughout the world, isn't it?
Well, again, our mutual friend Gerald Celente has a famous one-liner, which is a truism. When all else fails, they take you to war. Trump has a failing presidency economically, a failing presidency in terms of civil liberties, a failing presidency in terms of peace, so he's got to start another war. Mrs. Adelson and her Zionist oligarch billionaire buddies have a voracious appetite for doing whatever Prime Minister Netanyahu wants them to do. And right now he wants them to put as much pressure on Donald Trump as they possibly can. They're moving American troops out of harm's way in Qatar, but they're moving American ships into the Gulf. They will be crazy to start a war against Iran. If they close the Gulf of Hormuz, what will that do to the price of oil? Trump must think that the oil in Venezuela is just going to come out of the ground. The oil in Venezuela is as thick and heavy as tar. It is a very expensive and lengthy process to refine it and make it usable. That will not begin for a couple of years. In fact, it might not even begin while Trump is in the White House. So he's being fed lies and exaggerations by Netanyahu. Tulsi Gabbard, a person you and I at times have admired, is totally out of the picture. She's just a figurehead. She wasn't even told about the invasion of Venezuela for the 6 months that it took to prepare. That people that worked for her were involved in the preparation, and they were forbidden from telling her. The situation is, and there's riots in American streets. The situation is extremely, extremely dire here in the U.S. I don't know how we get out of it other than, and I hate to say this because I don't like them any more than I like the Republicans, the Democrats taking the Congress, but that can't happen for another year. Even if they win in November, they don't take over until the first week in January of 27. So we are probably stuck with this unless the courts are going to intervene.
Well, without you on the bench of the Supreme Court, I have my doubts as to whether the moral fiber exists in the judiciary. What about the popular power on the streets, Your Honor? I have seen big demonstrations, even in places I wouldn't have expected to see them in the United States. Is it possible that there can be a popular backlash that concentrates the minds of Republicans in Congress and tells them your tea's out if you don't step up and confront Trump?
The firefighter, the image of that firefighter is a metaphor for what is happening to Trump, George. His approval rating is down around 33, 34, 35%. It's very difficult to govern with an approval rating that low. And cracks are beginning to show in both the House of Representatives and the Senate. But it's going to take a few more instances like this heroic firefighter yesterday, who was spoken to in public by the President of the United States in a way that no American president has ever publicly spoken to an American citizen. That shows you the heart, soul, and brain of the president, and it's an eye-opener to even his strongest supporters who would identify with that firefighter.